The Nasat Empire's laughter echoed through Earth's communication channels, mocking humanity's military prowess. Admiral Janus, commander of the technologically superior alien fleet, broadcast his demand for immediate surrender after effortlessly crushing Earth's outermost colonies. His smug voice betrayed a fatal error. The Nasat had grossly underestimated the tenacity and adaptability of human soldiers. As Earth's modest defenses crumbled under the surprise assault, the United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, sprung into action. Reserve units mobilized across the planet, and Earth's most advanced warships rocketed toward the remaining colonies. The High Command knew they faced a daunting technological gap, but they also recognized a critical oversight in the Nasat strategy. Colonel Philip Jackson, a battle-hardened veteran of Earth's previous interstellar conflicts, received his orders. He was to lead an elite strike team on a high-risk mission to infiltrate the Nasat command ship. As Jackson briefed his team, intelligence reports confirmed a crucial fact. The Nasat had never engaged human ground forces in combat. The UEDF strategists saw an opportunity. They devised a plan to lure the overconfident Nasat into ground engagements where human soldiers could showcase their superior tactical skills and adaptability. Jackson's team would play a pivotal role, tasked with sabotaging the Nasat fleet's long-range sensors. This would force the aliens into close-quarters combat, allowing Earth to deploy its ground forces effectively. As Jackson and his team prepared for their covert operation, they studied every scrap of intel on Nasat technology and biology. They knew the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. Advanced stealth gear was distributed, each piece a testament to human ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds. Aboard the Nasat command ship, Admiral Janus dismissed reports of fierce human resistance. He remained convinced of his species' technological superiority, unaware of the trap being meticulously set by the humans. The Admiral's arrogance would prove to be the Nasat's Achilles heel. Colonel Jackson's team successfully infiltrated the massive alien vessel, their stealth technology rendering them invisible to Nasat sensors. As they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, Jackson noticed peculiarities in the ship's design that hinted at Nasat physiological weaknesses. He realized that humans possessed several key advantages: greater physical endurance, superior adaptability, and unmatched hand-to-hand combat skills. While Jackson's team worked to disable the fleet's sensors, he relayed this critical information back to UEDF command. The human strategists quickly incorporated these insights, refining their battle plans to exploit every Nasat weakness. On the front lines, Earth's remaining colonies braced for impact. Civilian shelters filled with anxious families, while camouflaged soldiers took up defensive positions in urban centers and rugged terrain. They knew the Nasat would be forced to commit to ground assaults once Jackson's team completed their mission. As the human counteroffensive took shape, a palpable tension filled the air. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation between the technologically superior but overconfident Nasat forces and the determined, tactically brilliant human defenders. The future of Earth hung in the balance, but humanity was about to remind the galaxy why they were a force to be reckoned with. The Nasat would soon learn that laughing at Earth's pathetic soldiers was the last mistake they would ever make. As Colonel Jackson's team worked methodically to disable the Nasat fleet's long-range sensors, the tension aboard the alien command ship was palpable. Each team member moved with practiced precision, their advanced stealth gear rendering them invisible to the Nasat's detection systems. "Almost there," Jackson whispered into his comm unit. "Stand by for confirmation." Moments later, a series of soft beeps echoed through the team's earpieces, signaling the successful sabotage of the sensor array. Jackson allowed himself a small smile before issuing his next order. As the team made their way back through the labyrinthine corridors of the Nasat vessel, alarms began to blare. The aliens had finally detected the system failure, but by then, it was too late. Aboard the Nasat command ship, Admiral Janus received the report of the sensor malfunction with growing irritation. "Impossible," he snarled at his subordinate. "Our technology is flawless. This must be some kind of human trickery." Unaware of the true extent of the sabotage, Janus made a fateful decision. Order the fleet to close in on the human defenses. We'll crush them at close range and be done with this farce. As the Nasat ships moved into position, the United Earth Defense Force sprang into action. General Marcus Steele stood at the center of Earth's primary military command center, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of the battlefield. "Initiate Operation Thunderstrike," Steele commanded, his voice calm but filled with authority. Instantly, the space around Earth's remaining colonies came alive with activity. Holographic projectors, hidden among debris fields and asteroid belts, flickered to life. The Nasat sensors, now limited to short-range capabilities, detected what appeared to be a massive human fleet materializing out of nowhere. Admiral Janus stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered again, his earlier confidence evaporating. Where did they hide such a force? As the Nasat fleet scrambled to respond to this apparent threat, the real human counteroffensive began. Stealth dropships, their hulls barely visible against the backdrop of space, slipped past the distracted Nasat defenses. Inside one of these ships, Major Sarah Chen addressed her troops, the elite 1st Terran Expeditionary Force. "This is what we've trained for," Chen said, her voice steady and confident. "The Nasat have never faced human ground forces. Let's show them why that was a mistake." The dropships touched down on Nova Prime, the largest human colony under Nasat occupation. Chen's forces moved swiftly through the streets, their movements a perfect blend of military precision and urban adaptability. The Nasat ground forces, caught completely off guard, struggled to mount an effective defense. Sub-Admiral Krell, commander of the Nasat ground forces, watched in growing horror as reports flooded in from all sectors of the colony. Human soldiers were outmaneuvering his troops at every turn, using the urban terrain to their advantage and showcasing physical abilities that the Nasat had severely underestimated. "They're too fast," one of Krell's lieutenants reported, panic evident in his voice. "Our troops can't keep up with their movements." Meanwhile, Colonel Jackson's team had successfully escaped the Nasat command ship and rendezvoused with a human scout vessel. As they transmitted their gathered intelligence to the UEDF, Jackson couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. "This is going to change everything," he said to his team. "We've just given our forces the key to victory." Back on Nova Prime, Major Chen received the updated intelligence and quickly adapted her strategy. Her troops began targeting weak points in Nasat armor and exploiting gaps in their formation that the aliens didn't even realize existed. As the battle on Nova Prime raged, Admiral Janus made another critical error. Frustrated by the unexpected resistance and the apparent size of the human fleet, he ordered a full-scale assault on Earth itself. "We'll strike at their homeworld," Janus declared. "They'll have no choice but to surrender when we threaten the heart of their civilization." General Steele, having anticipated this move, allowed himself a grim smile. "Admiral Janus is playing right into our hands," he said to his staff. "Prepare to deploy the HEMS units." As the Nasat fleet approached Earth, they encountered a sight that none of them had ever seen before. Human-enhanced mech suits, or HEMS, swarmed out from Earth's orbital stations. These massive exoskeletons, each piloted by an elite human operator, moved with a speed and grace that belied their size. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the Nasat had ever experienced. HEMS units tore through alien ships with ease, their movements unpredictable and devastatingly effective. Reeves himself seemed to be everywhere at once, his suit leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Admiral Janus watched in stunned silence as his fleet was decimated by these strange human machines. For the first time since the invasion began, he felt a cold tendril of fear creep up his spine. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Colonists emerged from hiding, armed with whatever weapons they could find, and joined the UEDF in pushing back the Nasat occupiers. The aliens, already struggling against the highly trained human military, found themselves facing a full-scale uprising. As reports of human victories flooded in from all fronts, the mood among Earth's forces shifted dramatically. Cheers erupted in command centers and on battlefields alike. The Nasat, once seen as an unstoppable force, were now on the defensive. Admiral Janus, his earlier arrogance replaced by grim realization, was forced to make a decision he never thought possible. "All Nasat forces, initiate tactical retreat," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. "We must regroup and reassess our strategy." As the Nasat fleet began to withdraw, General Steele addressed the UEDF. "This is not the end," he cautioned, "but today we have shown the galaxy that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. Prepare for the next phase of our counter-offensive." The first major battle against the Nasat had been won, but the war was far from finished. As Earth's forces regrouped and planned their next move, one thing was clear. The Nasat Empire had gravely underestimated humanity, and that mistake would cost them dearly. The taste of victory was still fresh as the United Earth Defense Force shifted gears, transitioning from defense to offense. General Marcus Steele stood before a holographic display of Nasat territory, his eyes fixed on a pulsing red dot that marked their homeworld, Nasatia. "The heart of the Nasat war machine," Steele replied, zooming in on the holographic display. "Their primary shipyard and weapons manufacturing facility on Nasatia itself." The room fell silent as the magnitude of the mission sank in. Jackson nodded, already formulating plans in his mind. "I'll need the best for this one, sir." "You'll have them," Steele assured him. "Major Sarah Chen has been reassigned to your command. Her performance on Nova Prime was exemplary." In the days that followed, Jackson and Chen worked tirelessly to assemble their team. They hand-picked operatives from across the UEDF, each selected for their unique skills and adaptability. The training regimen was brutal, in a specially designed facility that mimicked Nasatia's higher gravity and dense atmosphere. The team pushed their bodies to the limit. They ran drills in the latest generation of human-enhanced mech suits, modified for stealth operations. Major Chen watched as two operatives sparred, their movements a blur of speed and precision. "Faster," she barked. "The Nasat won't give you time to catch your breath." As Earth prepared its counterstrike, Admiral Janus paced the halls of the Nasat High Council chamber. The sting of defeat had turned to desperation. "We underestimated them once," Janus growled to the assembled councillors. "We cannot make that mistake again. I propose we unleash our ultimate weapon." Murmurs filled the chamber as Janus outlined his plan for a bioweapon designed to target human physiology. The council's approval was reluctant, but unanimous. Unaware of the looming threat, Operation Spearhead moved forward. Earth's intelligence networks buzzed with activity, picking up fragments of Nasat communications that hinted at a major offensive. General Steele frowned as he reviewed the reports. "It could be a trap," he mused, "but we can't afford to wait. Colonel Jackson, proceed as planned, but stay alert." The day of the operation arrived. As diversionary attacks drew Nasat attention across neighboring star systems, Jackson's team slipped into Nasatian orbit aboard a captured and modified shuttle. The descent through Nasatia's atmosphere was harrowing. Lightning from an electromagnetic storm lashed at the shuttle's hull, playing havoc with their instruments. "Hold steady," Jackson commanded as the shuttle bucked and shuddered. "We're almost through." They touched down in a remote area, the storm providing cover for their arrival. As the team disembarked, the alien landscape stretched before them, a world of deep purples and muted greens under a turbulent sky. Jackson felt the increased gravity immediately, his muscles straining against the added weight. Around him, his team adjusted their exoskeletons, compensating for the environmental challenges. "Chen, take Bravo team and scout ahead," Jackson ordered. "Alpha team with me, we move on the shipyard." The teams split, moving with practiced stealth through the alien terrain. Chen's group advanced cautiously, their sensors probing for Nasat patrols. Suddenly Chen held up a fist, signaling a halt. Her eyes narrowed as she studied a readout on her HEMS display. "Sir," she calmed to Jackson, "we're picking up unusual energy signatures, not consistent with shipyard operations." "Investigate, but maintain calm silence unless absolutely necessary," Jackson replied. Chen led her team towards the source of the readings. As they crested a ridge, a massive structure came into view, but it wasn't the shipyard. "My God," Chen breathed, taking in the sprawling complex before them. Banks of equipment hummed with ominous purpose, and through reinforced windows they could see Nasat scientists scurrying about. One of Chen's team, a biosystems expert, analyzed the data streaming through their sensors. His face paled. "Major," he said, his voice tight, "this is a bioweapons facility, and whatever they're cooking up in there, it's specifically designed to target humans." Chen's mind raced. This changed everything. "Jackson, come in," she whispered into her comm. "We have a situation." As Chen relayed their discovery, Jackson felt a chill run down his spine. He immediately patched through to UEDF command. General Steele's holographic image flickered to life in Jackson's HEMS display. The general's expression was grim as he absorbed the news. As Jackson's team altered course to rendezvous with Chen's group, alarms began to blare across the Nasat complex. Their presence had been detected. "So much for the element of surprise," Jackson muttered. "All units engage at will. Remember your training. We're stronger, faster, and more adaptable than they are. Use that to your advantage." The human operatives surged forward, their HEMS units allowing them to move with shocking speed, despite Nasatia's punishing gravity. Nasat defenders poured out of the facilities, their weapons blazing. Jackson watched with grim satisfaction as his team outmaneuvered the Nasat at every turn. In close-quarters combat, the difference was even more pronounced. The human operatives fought with a ferocity and adaptability that left the Nasat reeling. Inside the bioweapon facility, Admiral Janus received the alert of the human incursion with disbelief. "Impossible," he snarled. "How did they find us? How did they get here?" Janus's eyes narrowed. "Accelerate the bioweapon deployment. If we can complete it in time, this battle will be over before it truly begins." As Janus's order was carried out, a critical error was made. In their haste, the Nasat scientists overlooked a vital step in the containment protocols. Outside, the battle raged on. Jackson and Chen fought side by side, their HEMS units moving in perfect sync as they cut through the Nasat ranks. "We're almost there," Chen called out, gesturing towards the main entrance of the bioweapon facility. Suddenly, Jackson's comm crackled to life. "Colonel, this is UEDF command. Long-range sensors have detected a massive Nasat fleet on an intercept course. Estimated time of arrival, 1 hour. Jackson gritted his teeth. "Understood, Command. We'll complete the mission and extract before they arrive." As the human forces prepared for their final push, the stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of two species. Inside the facility, Admiral Janus steeled himself for the coming battle, unaware of the deadly mistake that had been made in the bioweapon lab. The next few minutes would change the course of the war, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. As the human strike team approached the Nasat facilities, Colonel Jackson's voice crackled over the comm. "Chen, take your squad and breach the bioweapon complex. We'll hit the shipyard." "Copy that," Major Chen replied, her voice steady despite the tension. She signaled to her team and they split off, moving with practiced efficiency through the alien terrain. Jackson led his group towards the looming silhouette of the Nasat shipyard. The massive structure stretched across the horizon, its angular forms a stark contrast to the undulating landscape of Nasatia. As they drew closer, the team could see the bustling activity of Nasat workers and automated systems, churning out warships at an alarming rate. "All right, people," Jackson said, his voice low. "We hit hard and fast. Priority is to disable their production capabilities and corrupt their systems. Let's move." The human soldiers surged forward, their HEMS units allowing them to cover ground with incredible speed. They breached the outer perimeter of the shipyard before the Nasat could even sound the alarm. Inside, chaos erupted. Nasat guards scrambled to respond, but they were woefully unprepared for the speed and ferocity of the human assault. Jackson's team moved like a well-oiled machine, each member executing their role with precision. As Jackson's team carved their way through the shipyard, Major Chen's squad faced a different challenge at the bioweapon facility. The complex was heavily guarded, with elite Nasat troops forming a formidable defense. Chen assessed the situation quickly. "We can't afford a prolonged engagement," she said to her team. Use your HEMS units to full advantage. Close the distance and engage in hand-to-hand if necessary. The human soldiers activated their suits' enhanced mobility systems, leaping and bounding across the battlefield with inhuman agility. The Nasat troops, caught off guard by this unorthodox approach, struggled to track their rapidly moving targets. Private Rodriguez, one of Chen's squad, found himself face-to-face with a Nasat soldier twice his size. The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been a sneer, but Rodriguez didn't hesitate. He used his suit's enhanced strength to grapple the Nasat, using its own weight against it in a swift takedown. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as the human soldiers closed the distance, negating the Nasat's ranged advantage. The aliens, unused to such close-quarters combat, fell back in disarray. Inside the shipyard, Jackson's team had reached the central control hub. They quickly overwhelmed the Nasat technicians, securing the facility with minimal resistance. "Start the sabotage," Jackson ordered. "I want this place offline and their systems in shambles." His team got to work, their fingers flying over alien interfaces as they introduced viruses and corrupted key systems. The shipyard's production lines ground to a halt, and alarms blared throughout the complex. Meanwhile, Chen's squad had fought their way deep into the bioweapon facility. The resistance grew fiercer with each step, a clear sign they were approaching something critical. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with Admiral Janus himself, surrounded by a cadre of guards. The Nasat leader's eyes widened in shock at the sight of the human intruders. "Impossible," Janus hissed. "How did you—" Chen didn't let him finish. She signaled her team to fan out, engaging the guards while she focused on Janus. The Nasat admiral, realizing the danger, turned to flee. "You three with me," Chen barked, pointing to a subset of her squad. "The rest of you find that bioweapon and neutralize it." Dr. Alan Reeves, the team's science officer, nodded grimly. "We're on it, Major." As Chen pursued Janus, Reeves led the remaining soldiers deeper into the facility. They fought their way through increasingly desperate Nasat defenders until they reached the main laboratory. Inside, they found a scene of frantic activity. Nasat scientists scrambled to complete their work, oblivious to the battle raging around them. In the center of the room stood a massive containment unit, pulsing with ominous energy. The team secured the room as Reeves approached the containment unit. His hands moved swiftly over the controls, his enhanced suit interfacing with the alien technology. "This is incredible," Reeves muttered. "The complexity of this weapon is beyond anything we've seen, but if I can just—" A sudden explosion rocked the facility. Reeves stumbled but kept working. "Unknown," Reeves replied, his focus unwavering. "But whatever it is, we need to finish this and get out." In another part of the facility, Chen had cornered Admiral Janus. The Nasat leader stood before a large control panel, his hand hovering over a prominent red button. Janus's mandibles clicked in what might have been a laugh. "You humans," he said, his voice dripping with disdain, "always so confident, but you have no idea what you're dealing with." His hand slammed down on the button. Instantly, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. "What did you do?" Chen demanded. Chen's eyes narrowed. In a blur of motion, she closed the distance between them, her HEMS enhanced strength allowing her to easily subdue the Nasat leader. "You're coming with us," she growled, securing Janus with restraints, "and you'd better hope we can stop what you've started." Back in the main lab, Reeves worked feverishly to neutralize the bioweapon. The facility shook with increasingly violent tremors, and the air filled with the acrid smell of burning circuitry. "Almost there," Reeves muttered, his fingers flying over the controls. "Just need to— Got it!" The containment unit's pulsing energy faded, and a series of satisfying clicks indicated the weapon's deactivation. "Weapon neutralized," Reeves announced, "and I've wiped their research data. This threat is finished." Just then, Chen burst into the room, dragging a restrained Admiral Janus. "We need to move now," she ordered. "This whole place is about to blow." As if to emphasize her point, another explosion rocked the facility, closer this time. Chunks of ceiling began to fall around them. "Understood," Reeves nodded. "Let's get out of here." The team regrouped and began their desperate escape from the crumbling facility. They fought their way through collapsing corridors and leapt over widening chasms, their HEMS units pushed to the limit. As they neared the exit, Chen's calm crackled to life. It was Colonel Jackson. "Chen, what's your status?" His voice came through, tinged with urgency. "We've neutralized the bioweapon and captured Admiral Janus," Chen reported as they ran. "But this place is coming down around us. We need immediate extraction." "Copy that," Jackson replied. "We've completed our objective at the shipyard. I'm bringing our shuttle to your position now. Just get outside and we'll pick you up." Chen's team burst out of the facility just as a massive explosion tore through its core. The ground shook violently, and a shockwave of heat and debris washed over them. Through the chaos, they saw the welcome sight of their modified Nasat shuttle descending towards them. Colonel Jackson at the controls. As soon as the last soldier was on board, Jackson gunned the engines. The shuttle rose sharply, narrowly avoiding the massive fireball that engulfed the bioweapon facility. But their ordeal wasn't over yet. As they broke through Nasatia's turbulent atmosphere, they found themselves face to face with the leading edge of the Nasat reinforcement fleet. "Hang on," Jackson called out, his hands dancing over the controls. "This is going to get rough." He pushed the shuttle to its limits, weaving through the oncoming Nasat ships with a combination of skill and audacity. Using the intelligence they had gathered during the mission, Jackson exploited a weakness in the Nasat ships' defenses, finding a gap in their formation. With a final burst of speed, they slipped past the Nasat fleet and jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the chaos of Nasatia behind. As the adrenaline of their narrow escape began to fade, the team took stock of their situation. They had successfully destroyed the Nasat's primary shipyard and neutralized a potentially devastating bioweapon. And in Admiral Janus, they had captured a high-ranking enemy leader who could provide invaluable intelligence. Colonel Jackson set a course back to UEDF space, his mind already racing with the implications of their mission's success. This victory would change the course of the war, he was sure of it. But as he looked at his battered and exhausted team, he knew that the fight was a long way to go. The Nasat would retaliate and humanity needed to be ready. As the shuttle streaked through hyperspace, carrying its vital cargo of intelligence, prisoners, and battle-worn soldiers, the next phase of the war against the Nasat Empire was about to begin. The success of the Nasatia operation had galvanized the United Earth Defense Force, infusing its ranks with a newfound confidence and commitment. General Steele pored over the intelligence extracted from Admiral Janus and the data recovered from the Nasatian facilities. His mind raced with possibilities as he formulated a bold strategy to bring the war to a swift conclusion. "This is our chance," he announced to the gathered UEDF High Command. "We have the momentum, the technology, and now the intelligence. It's time to end this war." The plan was audacious, a massive multi-pronged offensive that would deploy the entire UEDF fleet. Earth's ships, now augmented with reverse-engineered Nasat technology, represented a force that even the Nasat Empire would struggle to counter. Colonel Jackson, freshly promoted to general for his exceptional leadership during the Nasatia strike, stood at attention as General Steele outlined his role. "Jackson, you'll command the primary assault force," Steele said, his voice firm. "Your experience and tactical acumen make you the ideal choice to lead our main thrust into Nasat space." Jackson nodded, his face set with stubborn persistence. "I won't let you down, sir." Steele turned to Major Chen, who had also received a promotion to colonel in recognition of her crucial role in neutralizing the Nasat bioweapon. "Chen, I have a special task for you," Steele continued. "You'll lead a specialized infiltration unit. Your objective: disable key Nasat defensive installations. This will pave the way for our main assault." As the final preparations were made, a palpable sense of anticipation spread through the UEDF fleet. This was the moment they had been fighting for, the chance to end the war and secure humanity's future among the stars. The offensive began with a coordinated jump into Nasat-controlled space. As the human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel, the true extent of humanity's adaptability became apparent. Aboard the flagship Terrestrial Triumph, General Jackson directed the assault. His voice rang out clear and confident over the comms. The space around them erupted into chaos as hundreds of ships clashed in a dazzling display of firepower and maneuverability. Nasat vessels, still reeling from the loss of their main shipyard, struggled to counter the humans' innovative tactics. On multiple Nasat-controlled worlds, human forces made planetfall. HEMS units, now mass-produced and widely deployed, proved devastatingly effective against Nasat ground defenses. Private Rodriguez, now a seasoned veteran, led his squad through the alien terrain of a Nasat colony world. Their HEMS units allowed them to bound across the landscape with inhuman speed and agility. As they approached a Nasat defensive position, Rodriguez signaled his team to fan out. The Nasat troops, caught off guard by the humans' rapid advance, barely had time to react before Rodriguez's squad was upon them. In a blur of enhanced strength and speed, the human soldiers engaged the Nasat in close combat. Rodriguez grappled with a Nasat soldier, using his suit's augmented capabilities to easily overpower the alien. Around him, similar scenes played out as human forces overwhelmed the Nasat defenses. The aliens, once confident in their physical superiority, found themselves outmatched by the HEMS-enhanced humans. Meanwhile, Colonel Chen's infiltration teams struck at the heart of Nasat command and control centers. Using advanced hacking techniques developed from captured Nasat technology, they sowed chaos in the enemy's communication networks. Chen herself led the assault on a key Nasat communications hub. Her team moved silently through the facility, their HEMS units allowing them to slip past Nasat security with ease. As they reached the central control room, Chen signaled her team to take position. With practiced efficiency, they breached the door and neutralized the Nasat operators before they could raise the alarm. "All right, people, let's get to work," Chen ordered. "I want their entire network in shambles within the hour." Her team's fingers flew over the alien interfaces, introducing viruses and corrupting key systems. Across Nasat space, communication networks faltered and failed, causing widespread confusion among their forces. As the battle raged across multiple fronts, Admiral Janus watched from his holding cell aboard the Terrestrial Triumph. The reports flooding in painted a clear picture. The tide of war had turned decisively against his people. Janus's mandibles clicked in resignation. He had underestimated these humans, a mistake that had cost the Nasat Empire dearly. Now he saw only one path forward. "I wish to speak with your leader," Janus announced to his guards. "I am prepared to negotiate a surrender on behalf of the Nasat Empire." The news of Janus's offer reached General Jackson on the bridge of the Terrestrial Triumph. His initial skepticism faded as reports flooded in of Nasat forces laying down arms across multiple battlefronts. After conferring with General Steele and Earth's political leadership, Jackson made his decision. He strode into Janus's holding cell, his face stern but composed. "Admiral Janus," Jackson began, "I understand you wish to discuss terms of surrender." Janus nodded, his once proud posture now subdued. "Yes, General. The Nasat High Council has authorized me to negotiate on their behalf. We recognize the futility of further resistance." As they hammered out the details of the surrender, reports continued to pour in from across the battlefield. Human forces, their victory now assured, began the process of securing Nasat installations and accepting the surrender of enemy troops. The final battle concluded with a formal ceremony aboard the Terrestrial Triumph. Admiral Janus, representing the Nasat High Council, stood before General Jackson and the assembled human leadership. With a mix of resignation and dignity, Janus signed the document of surrender. The terms included significant concessions from the Nasat, including reparations for damaged human colonies and the sharing of advanced technologies. As the ceremony concluded, a cheer went up from the assembled human forces. The war was over. Humanity had emerged victorious against an enemy that had once seemed unbeatable. In the days that followed, the true scope of humanity's triumph began to sink in. Earth's colonies, once under constant threat, now flourished. The integration of NASAT technology accelerated human advancement, opening up new possibilities for expansion and exploration. General Jackson, hailed as the hero of the war, found himself at the center of efforts to forge a new galactic order. As he looked out at the stars from the bridge of the terrestrial triumph, he reflected on the incredible journey that had brought humanity to this point. The laughter that had once mocked Earth soldiers was now replaced by respect and, in some cases, fear of humanity's potential. The humans who had seemed pathetic to the NASAT had proven themselves to be formidable warriors and adaptable survivors. As Jackson contemplated the future, he knew that new challenges lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, and humanity's place in it was far from secure. But for now he allowed himself a moment of pride in what they had accomplished. The war against the NASAT Empire had transformed humanity. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, more united, and ready to take their place among the stars. Whatever the future held, Jackson knew one thing for certain: humanity would face it head-on, with the same spirit and drive that had carried them to victory. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.